Oh, yes, indeed, Dr. Harper. Sister Martha and I have been talking all week about your sermon last Sunday. It's really great. In only 2 short years, you've really taken on the spirit of Brooklyn.
That's very gratifying, Miss Brewster.
Yes, well, living next to the church all our lives, we've seen so many ministers come and go. And the spirit of Brooklyn, we've always said, is friendliness. And your sermons are not so much sermons as they are friendly talks.
Personally, I've always enjoyed my conversations with Cardinal Gibbons. Or have I met him yet?
Oh, no, dear, not yet. Are the biscuits good?
Bully.
Won't you have another, Dr. Harper?
Oh no, I'm afraid I'll have no appetite for dinner now. I always eat too many of your biscuits just to taste that lovely jam.
Oh, but you haven't tried the quince yet. We always put a little apple in there to take the tartness out.
No, thank you.
Well, we'll send you over a jar.
No, you keep it here so I can be sure of having your biscuits with it.
I do hope that they don't make us use that imitation flour again. What with this war trouble? It may not be very charitable of I, but I've almost come to the conclusion that this Mr. Hitler isn't a Christian.
If only Europe were on another planet.
Europe, sir.
Yes, Teddy.
Point your gun the other way.
Gun?
Teddy.
To the west. There's your enemy. There's your danger. Japan.
Why, yes, of course.
Teddy.
No, Aunt Abby. Let's talk about Europe and more about Panama.
Well, let's not talk about the war at all. Will you have another cup of tea, dear?
No, thank you, Aunt Abby.
Dr. Harper.
No, thank you. I must admit, Miss Abby, that war and violence seem far removed from these surroundings.
It is peaceful here, isn't it?
Yes, peaceful. The virtues of another day. They're all here in this house. The gentle virtues that went out with candlelight and good manners and low taxes.
Well, it is one of the oldest houses in Brooklyn. It's just as it was when Grandfather Brewster built and furnished it. Well, except for the electricity, and we use that as little as possible. It was Mortimer who decided to put that in.
Yes, I can understand that. Your nephew Mortimer seems to live only by electric light.
Yes, he works so late, the poor boy. I understand that he's taking Elaine with him to the theater again tonight. Teddy, good news. Your brother Mortimer will be back a little later.
Delighted.
We're so glad that it's Elaine Mortimer takes with him to the theater.
Well, it's a new experience for me to have to wait up till 3 o'clock in the morning for my daughter to be brought home.
Oh, Dr. Harper, I hope you don't disapprove of Mortimer.
Well...
It's just that we would feel so guilty if you did, seeing as it was in our house that Elaine met Mortimer.
Of course, Miss Abby, and so I'll say immediately that I believe Mortimer himself to be quite a worthy gentleman. But I've also watched the growing intimacy between him and my daughter with some trepidation. For one reason, Miss Abby.
You mean his stomach?
Stomach?
His dyspepsia. No, he's bothered by it so, poor boy.
No, I'll be frank with you, Miss Abby. I'm speaking of your nephew's unfortunate connection with the theater.
The theater? Oh, no, Dr. Harper. Mortimer writes for the New York newspaper.
I know, Miss Abby, I know. But a dramatic critic is constantly exposed to the theater, and I don't doubt but what some of them do develop an interest in.
Well, not our Mortimer. You have no fear of that. Why, Mortimer hates the theater.
Really?
Oh, yes. He writes terrible things about the theater. But you can't really blame him, though. He was so happy writing about real estate, which is something he really knew a lot about. That wasn't until they made him take this terrible night position.
My.
Yes, but as he says, the theater can't last much longer. And in the meantime, it's a living. Yes, I think if we give the theater another year or two, perhaps. Oh, well, who do you suppose that is? Oh, no, Teddy, I'll go. Thank you. Oh, come in, Mr. Brophy.
Hello, Miss Brewster.
How are you, Ms. Klein?
Very well, Miss Brewster.
What news have you brought me?
Colonel, we have nothing to report.
Splendid. Thank you, officers. At ease.
You know Dr. Harper.
Sure. Hello, Dr. Harper.
We've come for the toys for the Christmas fund.
Oh, yes.
That's a splendid work you do, fixing up discarded toys to give poor children a happier Christmas.
Well, it gives us something to do when we have to sit around the station. You get tired playing cards, and then you start cleaning your gun, and the next thing you know, you've shot yourself in the foot.
Whew. Teddy, you go upstairs and get that big box from your Aunt Martha's room. How is Miss Brophy today? Miss Brophy's been quite ill, Dr. Harper.
Pneumonia.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Charge!
Oh, she's a little better now. A little weak still.
Well, I'm going to get you some beef broth to take to her.
Don't bother, Miss Abby. You've done so much for her already.
Oh, we made it this morning, and Martha's taking some to Mr. Beninsky right now. You sit down and be comfortable. I won't take more than a minute.
She shouldn't go to all that trouble.
Listen, try to stop her sister from doing something nice. And for nothing, they don't even care how you vote.
Yes, when I received my call to Brooklyn and moved next door, my wife wasn't well. When she died, and for months before, well, if I'd known what pure kindness and absolute generosity are, it's because I've known the Brewster sisters.
Colonel, you promised not to do that.
But I have to call a cabinet meeting to get the release of those supplies.
He used to do that in the middle of the night. The neighbors raised Cain with us. They're a little afraid of him anyway.
Oh, he's quite harmless.
Suppose he really does think he's Teddy Roosevelt. There's a lot worse people he could think he was.
Damn shame. A nice family like this hatching a cuckoo.
Well, his father, the old girl's brother, was some sort of a genius, wasn't he? And their father, Teddy's grandfather, seems to me I've heard he was a little crazy too.
Yeah, he was crazy like a fox. He made $1 million.
Really? Here in Brooklyn?
Yeah, patent medicine. He was a kind of a quack of some sort. Old Sergeant Edwards remembers him? He used to house here as a sort of a clinic. Tried him out on people.
Yeah, and I hear he used to make mistakes occasionally too.
The department never bothered him because he was pretty useful on autopsies sometimes, especially poison cases.
Well, whatever he did, he left his daughters fixed for life. Thank God for that.
Not that they spent any of it on themselves.
Yes, I'm well acquainted with their charities.
You don't know a tenth of it. When I was with the Missing Persons Bureau, I was trying to trace an old man that we never did find. Do you know there's a renting agency that's got this house down on their list for furnished rooms? They don't rent rooms. But you can bet that anybody who comes here looking for a room goes away with a good meal and probably a few dollars in their kick.
It's just their way of digging up people to do some good to.
Well, isn't this nice?
Good afternoon, Miss Brewster.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brophy, Dr. Harper, Miss Klein.
How are you, Miss Brewster? We've come for the Christmas toys.
Oh, yes, Teddy's Army and Navy. They wear out. They're all packed.
The colonel's upstairs after them now. It seems the cabinet has to okay it.
Yes, of course. I do hope Mrs. Brophy's better.
She's doing fine, ma'am. Your sister's getting some soup for me to take to her.
Oh, yes, we made it this morning. I just took some to a poor man who broke ever so many bones.
Oh, Martha, you're back. How was Mr. Beninsky?
Well, it's pretty serious, I'm afraid. The doctor was there. He said he's going to have to amputate in the morning.
Can we be present?
No, I asked him, but he said it's against the rules of the hospital.
You couldn't be of any service, and you must spare yourself something.
Well, Mr. Brophy, here's the broth. Be sure it's good and hot.
Yes, ma'am.
This is fine. It'll make a lot of children happy. That O'Malley boy's nuts about soldiers.
That's General Miles. I've retired him. What's this? The Oregon.
Teddy dear, put it back.
But the Oregon goes to Australia.
Now, Teddy.
No, Aunt Tabby. I've given my word to fighting Bob Evans.
But Teddy...
What's the difference what kid gets it? Bobby Evans, Izzy Cohn. We're running along now, ma'am, and thank you very much.
Not at all. Goodbye.
I must be getting home.
Oh, before you go, Dr. Harper.
Charge! Charge the blockhouse!
The blockhouse?
The stairs are always San Juan Hill.
Have you ever tried to persuade him that he wasn't Teddy Roosevelt?
Oh, no.
He's so happy being Teddy Roosevelt.
Well, we did try once. Oh, remember, Martha. We thought that if we could convince him that he was George Washington, it would be a change for him.
But he just stayed under his bed for days and wouldn't be anybody.
Oh, and we'd much rather he be Mr. Roosevelt than nobody at all.
Well, if he's happy and what's more important, you're happy, you'll see that he signs these.
What are they?
Dr. Harper has made all arrangements for Teddy to go to Happydale Sanitarium after we've passed on.
But why should he sign anything now?
It's better to have it all settled. If the Lord should take you away suddenly, perhaps we couldn't convince Teddy to commit himself, and that would mean an unpleasant legal procedure. Mr. Witherspoon understands they're to be filed away until the time comes to use them.
Mr. Witherspoon? Who's he?
He's the superintendent of Happydale.
Dr. Harper has arranged for him to drop in tomorrow or the next day to meet with Teddy.
Well, I better be running along, or Elaine will be over here looking for me.
Well, give our love to Elaine and Dr. Harper. Please don't think too harshly of Mortimer just because he's a dramatic critic. Somebody has to do those things.
Well, did you just have tea? Isn't it rather late?
Yes, and dinner's going to be late too.
So, why?
Teddy, good news. You're going to go to Panama to dig another lock for the canal.
Bully, I shall prepare at once. Charge!
Abby, all by yourself?
Well, I didn't know when you'd be back, and, well, Dr. Harper was coming.
But all by yourself.
Oh, I got along fine.
Well, I'll run down to the cellar and see.
Oh, no, Martha. There was no time, and, well, I was all alone.
So?
Just check the window seat. Oh! Oh, it's Elaine. Well, come in, Elaine.
Good afternoon, Miss Abby. Good afternoon, Miss Martha. I thought Father was here.
Oh, he just this minute left. Didn't you meet him?
No, I took the shortcut through the cemetery. Mortimer hasn't come yet?
Oh, not yet.
Oh, he asked me to meet him here. Do you mind if I wait?
Not at all.
Oh, come, sit down.
But we really must speak to Mortimer about doing this to you.
Doing what?
Well, you see, dear, he was brought up to know better. When a gentleman calls for a lady, he should meet her at her house.
Oh, there's something about calling for a girl at a parsonage that discourages any man who doesn't embroider.
Well, he's done this too often. We're going to speak with him.
Oh, please don't. After a young man whose idea of nightlife was to take me to a prayer meeting. It's wonderful going to the theater almost every night of my life.
Well, it's comforting for us, too, because if Mortimer has to see some of those shows he has to see, at least he's sitting next to a minister's daughter.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness, Elaine. What you must think of us, not having tea cleared away by this time.
Now, don't you start anything in the kitchen till Mortimer comes. Then I'll help you. He should be here any minute, dear.
Yes, Father must have been surprised not to find me at home. I better run over and say goodnight to him.
It's a shame you missed him, dear.
If Mortimer comes, you tell him I'll be right back. Hello, Mort.
Oh, hello, Elaine. Aunt Martha.
Abby, Mortimer's here.
Were you going somewhere?
I was just going to tell Father not to wait up for me.
Well, I didn't know that was still being done, even in Brooklyn.
Hello, Mortimer.
Aunt Abby.
How are you, dear?
Oh, I'm all right. You look well. You haven't changed much since yesterday.
Oh, my goodness, it was yesterday, wasn't it? Well, we are seeing a great deal of you lately. Well, come, sit down, sit down.
Abby, haven't we something to do in the kitchen? You know, the tea things.
Oh, yes! Yes, the tea things. Well, you just sit down and make yourselves at home. You just
make yourselves at home.
Well, can't you take a hint?
No, that was pretty obvious. A lack of inventiveness, I should say.
Yes, that's exactly what you would say.
So, where do you want to go for dinner tonight?
I don't care. I'm not very hungry.
Well, I just had breakfast. Suppose we wait until after the show.
But that'll make it pretty late, won't it?
Oh, not with the little stinker we're seeing tonight. From what I've heard, we'll be at Blake's by 10 o'clock.
You ought to be fair to these plays.
Are these plays fair to me?
I've never seen you walk out on a musical.
Well, that musical's not opening up tonight.
No?
Oh, darling, you've got to learn the rules. With musicals, there's always 2 postponements, 4 changes of title, and, well, they like it in New Haven, but it needs a lot of work.
Oh, I was hoping it was a musical.
Well, you have such a light mind.
Not a bit. Musicals somehow have a humanizing effect on you. After a serious play, we join the proletariat at the subway, and I listen to a lecture on the drama. After a musical, you bring me home in a taxi. And you make a few passes.
Oh, now, darling, that is a very inaccurate piece of reporting.
Oh, I will admit, after the Berman play, you told me I had authentic beauty. And that's a hell of a thing to say to a girl. It wasn't until after our first musical you told me I had nice legs. And I have, too.
You know, for a minister's daughter, you know a lot about life. Where'd you learn it?
In the choir loft.
I'll teach that to you in some time, darling. The close connection between eroticism and religion.
Religion never gets as high as in the choir loft. Which reminds me, I better run over and say goodnight to Father.
Oh, you know, I've never been able to rationalize it.
What?
My falling in love with a girl who lives in Brooklyn.
Falling in love. You're not stooping to the articulate, are you?
The only way to regain my self-respect is to keep you here in New York.
Did you say keep?
I've come to the conclusion you're holding out for the legalities.
I can afford to be a good girl for quite a few years yet.
And I can't wait that long. Where could we be married in a hurry? Say, tonight.
I'm afraid Father will insist on officiating.
Oh, God. Your father could make even a marriage service sound pedestrian.
Are you by any chance writing a review of it?
Forgive me, darling. It's an occupational disease. You know, I may just give that play tonight a good notice.
Now, darling, don't pretend you love me that much.
You better tell your father not to wait up tonight.
I think I'd better tell him to wait up.
Well, I could telephone Winchell and have him publish the banns.
Nevertheless.
All right. Everything formal and legal, but no later than next month.
Darling, I'll talk it over with Father and set the date.
Oh, no, there'll be a lot of other first nights in October.
Oh, hello, Mortimer.
Hello, Mr. President. How are you?
Bully, thank you. Just bully. What news have you brought me?
Just this, Mr. President. The country is squarely behind you.
Yes, I know. It's wonderful, isn't it? Well, goodbye. Goodbye.
And where are you off to, Teddy?
Panama.
Panama's in the cellar. He digs the locks for the canal down there.
You're so sweet with him, and he's very fond of you.
Oh, yes, well, Teddy always was my favorite brother.
Favorite? Were there more of you?
Yes, there was another brother, Jonathan.
I've never heard of him. Your aunts never mention him.
Oh, no, we don't like to talk about Jonathan. He left Brooklyn very early by request. He was the type of boy who used to cut worms in two, with his teeth.
What became of him?
Well, he wanted to become a surgeon like grandfather, but he wouldn't go to medical school, so his practices got him into trouble.
Aren't you two going to be late for the theater?
Oh, we're skipping dinner. We won't have to leave for another half hour.
Well, then I'll leave you two alone together again.
Don't bother, darling. I better go and speak to Father. Before I go out with you, he likes to pray over me a little. I'll be right back. I'll cut through the cemetery.
Well, if the prayer isn't too long, I'll have time to lead you beside distilled waters.
Oh, Mortimer, that's the first time I've ever heard you quote the Bible. We knew Elaine would be a good influence on you.
Yes, and by the way, we're going to be married.
What? Married? Oh, Mortimer! Martha! Martha! Come in here! Oh, I have the most wonderful news to tell you. Mortimer and Elaine are going to be married. Married? Oh, Mortimer! Oh, we'd hope it happened just like this.
Why, Elaine must be the happiest girl in the world.
Oh, happy? Well, just look at her leaping over those gravestones. Say, what's that?
What's what, dear?
Oh, there on that statue. That's an Ornanina Carnina.
Oh, no, dear, that's Emma B. Stout ascending to heaven.
No, on Miss Stout's left ear. That's a red-crested swallow. You know, I've only seen one of those in my life.
Well, I don't know how you can be thinking of a bird right now. What with Elaine and the engagements and everything.
It's a vanishing species. Thoreau was very fond of them. By the way, I left a large envelope around here last week. It was one of my chapters on Thoreau. Have you seen it?
No, dear, but if you left it here, it must be here somewhere.
Oh, what are your plans? When are you going to be married? Oh, there's got to be something more you can tell us about Elaine.
Oh, yes, Elaine. Oh, she thought it was brilliant.
What was, dear?
My chapter on Thoreau.
Well, I think when Elaine comes back, we ought to have a little celebration. Yes, we must drink to your happiness. Martha, is there any more of that Lady Baltimore cake left?
Oh, yes.
Then I'll open a bottle of wine.
Oh, and to think it all happened in this room.
Now, where could I have put that?
Well, I should think with your fiancé sitting beside you tonight, the play will be something you can enjoy for once. Maybe it'll be romantic. What's the name of it?
Murder Will Out.
Oh, dear.
When the curtain goes up, the first thing you'll see will be a dead body. Oh. Aunt Abby!
Oh, yes, dear.
You were gonna send Teddy to that sanitarium, Happydale.
Oh, yes, Dr. Harper was here today with the papers for Teddy to sign. Oh, here they are.
Well, he's got to sign them right away.
Well, that's what Dr. Harper thinks. That way there will be no legal difficulties after we've moved on.
Oh, well, he's down in the cellar. Get him up here.
No, dear, there's no such hurry as that.
No, when Teddy gets started in the cellar, you can't get his mind on anything else.
Oh, no, he's got to go to Happydale now, tonight.
Oh, no, dear, that's not until after we've gone.
Oh, well, right away, I tell you, right away.
Mortimer, how can you say such a thing? Why, as long as we're alive, we'll never be separated from Teddy.
Oh, darlings, I'm frightfully sorry, but I've got some shocking news for you. You know, we've all got to try and keep our heads about this. Well, we've sort of humored Teddy because we thought he was harmless.
Why, he is harmless.
Oh, he was harmless. Well, that's why he's got to go to Happydale. He's got to be confined.
Mortimer, why have you suddenly turned against Teddy, your own brother?
Oh, you've got to know sometime, and it might as well be now. Teddy's killed a man.
Nonsense, dear.
Oh, but there's a body in the window seat.
Oh, yes, dear, we know.
You know?
Yes, dear, but it has nothing to do with Teddy.
Well,
Now, Mortimer, you know this? Just forget it. Forget you ever saw the gentleman.
But forget?
Well, I never dreamed you'd peek.
Oh. Well, who is he?
Well, his name is Hoskins, Adam Hoskins. Well, that's all I know about him, except that he's a Methodist.
That's all you know about him? Well, what's he doing in there? What happened to him?
He died.
Oh, Aunt Martha, men don't just get into window seats and die.
No, he died first.
Well, how?
Mortimer, don't be so inquisitive. The man died because he drank some wine with poison in it.
But How did the poison get in the wine?
Well, I put it in the wine because it's less noticeable. When it's in tea, it has a distinct odor.
You put it in the wine?
Yes, and I put Mr. Hoskins in the window seat because, well, Dr. Harper was coming.
Oh, so you knew what you'd done, and you didn't want Dr. Harper to see the body.
Well, not at tea. That wouldn't have been very nice. Now, Mortimer, you know this whole thing. Just forget it. I do think Martha and I have a right to our own little secrets.
And don't you tell Elaine. Oh, Abby, I stopped in on Mrs. Schultz while I was out. She'd like us to take Junior to the movies again.
Oh, then we'll have to do that tomorrow or the next day.
Yes, but this time we'll go where we want to go. I'm not going to let Junior drag me to one of those scary pictures.
Ugh.
City desk. Hello, Al. Say, do you know who this is? Yes, that's right. Say, when I was leaving the office, I told you where I was going, didn't I? Yes, that's right. Well, I mean, it would take me about a half hour to get to Brooklyn. What time have you got? Oh, yes, that's right. Oh, no, I must be here. Aunt Abby, Aunt Martha, come in here. Oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?
Well, what are we going to do about what, dear?
Well, there's a body in there.
Yes, Mr. Hoskins.
Oh, for God's sakes, I can't just turn you over to the police. What am I gonna do?
Well, for one thing, dear, you can stop being so excited.
And for pity's sake, stop worrying. We told you to just forget the whole thing.
Oh, forget? My dear Aunt Abby, how can I make you realize something has to be done?
Mortimer, you behave yourself. You're too old to be flying off the handle like this.
But Mr. Hotchkiss!
Hoskins, dear.
Oh, whatever his name is, you can't just leave him in there.
Oh, we don't intend to, dear.
No, Teddy's down in the cellar now, digging up a lock.
Oh. So, you're gonna bury Mr. Hotchkiss in the cellar?
Oh, yes, dear. That's what we did with the others.
Oh, no. You can't bury Mr. Hotchkiss. Others!
Yes, the other gentleman.
When you say others, do you mean others? Others? More than one others?
Oh, yes, dear. Let me see. This is 11, isn't it, Abby?
No, dear, this makes 12.
Oh, no, I think you're wrong.
No, I specifically remember when Mr. Hoskins came in, it occurred to me that he would make an even dozen.
Well, you really shouldn't count the first one.
Oh, but I was counting the first one, and that makes it 12.
Hello, Al. Oh, my, it's good to hear your voice.
So anyway, they're all down in the cellar.
No. Oh, no, Al, I'm sober as a lark. I was just feeling a little pirandello. Well, you wouldn't understand. Look, I'll tell you about it tomorrow. No, I can't cover the play tonight. Well, that's all there is to it. I can't. You gotta get a hold of George. This is my company and I'm running it. Now you get a hold of George. All right, let's see. Where were we? 12!
Yes, Abby thinks we ought to count the first one, and that makes 12.
All right. Well, who was the first one?
Mr. Migley. He was a Baptist. He came in looking for a room.
It was right after you moved to New York.
It didn't seem right for such a lovely room to go to waste when there were so many people who needed it.
He was such a lonely old man.
All his kith and kin were dead, and it left him so forlorn and unhappy.
We felt so sorry for him.
And then, when his heart attack came, and he sat dead in that chair, looking so peaceful. Oh, remember, Martha, we decided right there and then that if we could help other lonely old men find that same peace, we would.
Oh, so he's dead right in that chair. Oh, how awful for you.
Oh, no, dear. Why, it was rather like old times. Your grandfather used to have a cadaver or two around the house, and Teddy had been digging in Panama for a while, and he thought Mr. Midgley was a yellow fever victim.
which meant he had to be buried immediately.
So we all took him down to Panama. Now, dear, you see that's why we told you not to worry, because we know exactly what's to be done.
So that's how this all started. That man walking in here and dropping dead.
Well, of course, we knew we couldn't depend on it to happen again, so...
You know those jars of poison that have been up in your grandfather's laboratory?
And you know your Aunt Martha's knack for mixing things. Well, you've eaten enough of her piccalilli.
Well, dear, for 1 gallon of elderberry wine, I take 1 teaspoonful of arsenic, a half a teaspoonful of strychnine, and just a pinch of cyanide.
Oh, should have quite the kick.
Yes, as a matter of fact, one of our gentlemen even found time to say, "How delicious!"
Oh.
Well, now I really should get started on dinner.
Oh, I wish you could stay for dinner.
I'm trying out a new recipe.
Ooh.
Oh, no, I couldn't eat a thing.
I'll come and help you, dear. Well, I feel so much better now. Oh, you must have to wait for Elaine. Oh, how happy you must be. Well, I'll leave you alone with your thoughts.
Oh. Oh, it's you!
Don't be cross, darling. Father could see that I was excited, so I told him about us, and it made it hard for me to get away. But listen, he's not going to wait up for me tonight.
Oh, no, Elaine. You've got to go home. I'll call you up tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Well, you know I always call you up every day or two.
But we're going to the theater tonight.
Oh, no, we're not.
Well, why not?
Oh, because something's come up. You've got to go home.
What is it, darling? Mortimer, you've lost your job.
Oh, no, I haven't lost my job. It's just something's come up, and I need you to go home.
But I've got to know what's happened. Certainly you can tell me.
Oh, no, dear, no, I can't.
But if we're going to be married...
Married?
Have you forgotten that not 15 minutes ago you proposed to me?
I did? Oh, yes. Well, as far as I'm concerned, well, that's still on.
Listen, you can't propose to a girl 1 minute and throw her out of the house the next.
Oh, I'm not throwing you out of the house. Now, will you get out of here?
No, I won't get out of here. Not until I've had some kind of explanation.
No, Elaine. Now, hello. Sure, it's important, Al, but it can wait a minute, can it? Well, just hold on. Look, Elaine, you're a sweet girl, and I love you, but I need you to go home and wait until I call you.
Don't try and be masterful.
Oh, when we're married and I have problems to face, I hope to find you less tedious and uninspired.
And when we're married, if we're married, I hope I find you adequate.
Oh, Elaine. Yes. Hello. Hello? Hello, Al, are you there? Hello? Al! Hello?
Well, that's the doorbell, dear, not the telephone.
Well.
Hello, come in.
I understand you have a room to rent.
Yes, step on in.
Are you the lady of the house?
Yes, I'm Miss Brewster, and this is my sister, another Miss Brewster.
My name is Gibbs.
Well, come, sit down. I'm sorry, we were just setting for dinner.
City desk. Al, city desk, what? Oh, I'm sorry, I have the wrong number.
May I see the room?
Oh, well, why don't you sit down first and let's get acquainted?
Well, that won't do much good if I don't like the room.
Is Brooklyn your home?
Haven't got a home. Live in a hotel, don't like it.
Hello, city desk.
Are your family Brooklyn people?
Haven't got any family.
Oh, well, that must make it very lonely.
Yes.
Well, Martha, you have come to just the right house. Come, sit down.
Oh, hello, Al. It's Mort. We got cut off. I can't cover the play tonight. Oh, no, that's all there is to it. I can't.
What church do you go to? There's an Episcopal church practically next door.
I'm Presbyterian, used to be.
What's George doing in Bermuda? Well, certainly I told him he could go to Bermuda. It's my company, isn't it? We've got to find somebody else. You look, I'll hold on.
Is there always this much noise?
Oh, he doesn't live with us.
How about the office boy? Oh, the bright one. The one we don't like. Well, you've got to get a hold of somebody. You look around the office. I'll hold.
I'd really like to see the room.
Oh, it's just upstairs, but why don't you see if you like our wine before we start up?
Never touch it.
It's elderberry wine. We make it ourselves.
Elderberry wine. Haven't had elderberry wine since I was a boy. Thank you.
How about the fellow who sets my copies? Joe, he ought to know what I write about. He's the third machine down from the left. But look, Al, he might turn out to be another Burns Mantle.
Do you have your own elderberry bushes?
No, but the cemetery's full of them.
No, I'm not drinking, but I'm going to start now.
Do you serve meals?
Oh, we might, but why don't you see if you like our wine first?
Mortimer?
Mortimer! Not that one.
Oh! What is... Get up! You've got to get out of here! You got to go! What, do you want to be murdered? You want to be poisoned? You want to be killed? We'll murder you and bury us! We will bury you! Get the hell out of here!
Well, now you've spoiled everything.
Well, you can't do things like that. I don't know how to explain this to you, but it's not only against the law, it's not a nice thing to do.
Abby, we shouldn't have told Mortimer.
Oh, what I'm trying to say is, well, this has developed into a very bad habit.
Mortimer, we don't stop you from doing the things you like to do. I don't see why you should interfere with us.
Oh. Hello? All right. I'll see the first act and I'll pan the hell out of it. But look, Al, you've got to do something for me. Now, get a hold of O'Brien, our lawyer. Have him meet me at the theater. All right, well, don't let me down, Al. All right, I'm starting now. Look, darlings, I have to go to the theater tonight. I can't get out of it, but before I go, I need you to promise me something.
Well, we'd have to know what it was first.
Well, I love you very much, and I know you love me, so I need you to do this one thing for me.
What do you need us to do?
Don't do anything. I mean, don't do anything. Don't let anyone into this house and leave Mr. Hoskins right where he is.
Why?
Oh, because I need some time to think, and I've got quite a little to think about. You know, I wouldn't want anything to happen to you.
Well, what on earth could happen to us?
Oh. Anyway, you'll do this for me, won't you?
Well, we were planning on holding the services before dinner.
Services?
Why, you don't think we'd bury Mr. Hoskins without a full Methodist funeral, do you? Why, he was a Methodist.
Well, can't that wait until I get back?
And then you can join us.
Yes, yes.
Oh, Mortimer, you're going to love the services, especially the hymns. Oh, remember, Martha? Remember how beautifully Mortimer used to sing in the choir before his voice changed?
So you'll do this for me, won't you?
Well,
Oh, Martha, we can do that now that he's cooperating. Well, all right, Mortimer.
Have you got any paper?
Oh.
I'll be back as soon as I can. There's a man I've got to see.
I think there's some over here. Let's see. Oh, yes, okay. Will this do?
Oh, yes, that'll be fine. I can save time if I write my review on the way to the theater.
Abby Mortimer didn't seem quite himself today.
Yes, and I think I know why.
Why?
Well, he's just been engaged to be married. Oh, I'm sure that always makes a man a little nervous.
I am so happy for Elaine. And this honeymoon ought to give Mortimer a real vacation. I don't think he got much rest this summer.
Well, at least he's not off kiting to China or Spain.
I could never understand why he wanted to go to those places.
Well, I think to Mortimer, The theater has always seemed like small potatoes. Mortimer needs something big to criticize, something like the human race.
Oh, Abby, if Mortimer's coming for the services, we'll need another hymn. Oh. There's one in my room.
Oh, you know, dear, it's really my turn to hold the services. But since you weren't here when Mr. Hoskins came, I want you to do it.
Well, that's very nice of you, dear, but are you sure you want me to?
Well, it's only fair.
Well, I think I'll wear my black bombazine and mother's old brooch.
Ooh. Oh, I'll go.
Wait, Mortimer told us not to let anyone in.
Well, who do you suppose it is?
I'll see. Well, it's two men, and I've never seen them before.
Are you sure?
There's a car at the curb. They must have come in that.
Well, let me look.
Do you recognize them?
Well, they're strangers to me.
Well, we'll just have to pretend like we're not home.
Come in, Doctor. This is the home of my youth. As a boy, I couldn't wait to escape from this place. Now I'm glad to escape back into it.
Yeah, it's a fine hideout.
The family must still be living here. There's something so unmistakably Brewster about the Brewsters. I hope there's a fatted calf awaiting the return of the prodigal.
Yeah, I'm hungry. Look, Johnny, drinks!
As though we were expected. A good omen.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
Why, Aunt Abby, Aunt Martha, it's me, Jonathan.
You get out of here!
It's Jonathan, your nephew, Jonathan.
Oh, no, you're not. You're nothing like Jonathan, so don't pretend that you are.
But I am Jonathan, and this is Dr. Einstein.
And that's not Dr. Einstein either.
Not Dr. Albert Einstein, Dr. Herman Einstein.
You are not our nephew, Jonathan.
I see you're still wearing that lovely garnet ring that Grandma Brewster bought in England. And you, Aunt Martha, still the high collar to hide the scar where grandfather's acid burned you.
Why, his voice is like Jonathan's.
Have you been in an accident?
No. My face, Dr. Einstein is responsible for that. He's a plastic surgeon. He changes people's faces.
But I've seen that face before. Oh, Abby, remember when we took that little Schultz boy to the movies and I was so frightened? It was that face.
Easy, Johnny. Don't worry, ladies. In the last 5 years, I give Johnny 3 new faces. I give him another one right away. You see this last face? Well, I saw that picture too, just before I operate. And I was intoxicated.
You see, Doctor, you see what you've done to me, even my own family.
Easy, Johnny. You're home in this lovely house. How often he tells me about Brooklyn, about his aunts that he loves so much. They know it's you, Johnny. You know it's Jonathan. Speak to him. Tell him so.
Well, Jonathan, it's been quite a long time. Where have you been?
Yes, Jonathan. Where have you been?
Oh, England, South Africa, Australia, the last 5 years, Chicago. Dr. Einstein and I were in business there together.
Well, we were in Chicago for the World's Fair.
Yes, we found Chicago awfully warm.
Yeah, it got hot for us too.
Well, it's wonderful to be in Brooklyn again. And you, Abby, Martha, you don't look a day older. Just as I remembered you. Sweet, charming, hospitable, and dear Teddy. Did he get into politics? My little brother, Doctor, was determined to become president.
Well, Teddy's fine, just fine. And Mortimer's well, too.
Oh, I know about Mortimer. I've seen his picture at the head of his column. He's evidently fulfilled all the promise of his early nasty nature.
Well, we're very fond of Mortimer.
Well, Jonathan, it was very nice to see you again.
Bless you, Aunt Martha. It's good to be home.
Well, Martha, we mustn't let what's on the stove boil over.
Yes, Jonathan, if you'll excuse us. Unless you're in a hurry to be somewhere.
Well, Johnny, where do we go from here? The police have got pictures of that face. I got to operate on you right away. We got to find some place for that. And we got to find some place for Mr. Spinoso, too.
Don't waste any worry on that rat.
But, Johnny, we got a hot stiff on our hands.
Forget Mr. Spinalzo.
You shouldn't have killed him, Johnny. He was a nice fellow. He gives us a lift. And what happened?
He said I look like Boris Karloff. That's your work, doctor. You did that to me.
Johnny, I fix you up quick.
Tonight!
Johnny, I got to eat first. I'm hungry. I'm weak.
We're glad that you took the trouble to come in and say hello, but, well, you were never happy in this house, and we were never happy while you were in it. So we've just come to say goodbye.
Aunt Abby, I can't say that your feeling toward me comes as a surprise. I've spent a great many hours regretting the many heartaches I must have given you as a boy.
You were quite the trial to us, Jonathan.
But my great disappointment is for Dr. Einstein. I promised him that no matter how rushed we were in passing through Brooklyn, I'd bring him here for one of Aunt Martha's home-cooked dinners.
Oh,
Well, I'm afraid that there wouldn't be enough.
Abby, it's a pretty good-sized hot dish.
Hot dish?
I think the least we can do is to...
Thank you, Aunt Martha. We'll stay to dinner.
Well then, I guess we'll just hurry it along.
Yes.
Oh, Jonathan, if you and your friend want to freshen up, you can use Grandfather's old laboratory upstairs.
Is that still there?
Yes, and it's just as it was. Well, I better go help Martha since we're all in a hurry.
Well, we get a meal anyway.
Grandfather's laboratory. And just as it was, Doctor, the perfect operating room.
Too bad we can't use it.
Why, after you're done with me, we could make a fortune here. The laboratory, that large ward in the attic, 10 beds, Doctor, and Brooklyn is crying for your talents.
Why work yourself up, Johnny? Anyway, for Brooklyn, I think we are a year too late.
You don't know this town, Doctor. Practically everybody in Brooklyn needs a new face.
But so many of the old faces are locked up.
A very small percentage. And the boys in Brooklyn are famous for paying generously to stay out of jail.
Take it easy, Johnny. Your aunts, they don't want us here.
We're here for dinner, aren't we?
Yeah, but after dinner?
Leave it to me, Doctor. I'll handle it. Why, this house will be our headquarters for years.
Oh, that would be beautiful, Johnny. This nice, quiet house. Those aunts of yours. What sweet ladies. I love them already. I get the bags, yeah?
Doctor, we must wait until we're invited.
But you just said that.
We'll be invited.
And if they say no?
Doctor, 2 helpless old women?
It's like comes true a beautiful dream. Only I hope you're not dreaming. It's so peaceful.
That's what makes this house so perfect for us. It's so peaceful.
Charge!
Trailer for sailor